The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
And of course, it's another morning for us to talk politics and governance in Nigeria. Welcome to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. It's 16 minutes past 9 a.m. and we have gathered again for us to look at these developments as they unfold. My name is Franklin Ebuka. Just to remind you that the program is anchored on headlines from various newspapers as well as other news and current affairs issues that emanate in the nation. Good morning, Tony, and thank you for being around.
Good morning to you, Franklin Ebuka. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, Anambra. Good morning, Onitsha. Donidu. Good morning, Sumohu. Good morning, everyone under the reach of our voice. It's always a pleasure to be here. It's another beautiful Thursday morning, and we thank God Almighty for His grace, for His love, for His mercy, for everything He has been doing. For us, we are happy, and today being the 12th day in the month of March in the year 2026, and we are happy. And just a question of some days now, Anambra State government will have another term because the governor will be sworn in next week Tuesday for his second time in office. And remember, every 17th of March we mark anniversary, and this time around a new government. But we wouldn't call it a new government, more like continuation of the solution government. But that's by the way. And we have got so many things to talk about. Remember, we will not do this without you listening to us. Onya Olwaka, Onya Nazwafia, Onya Nanyi Fonyinya, and those who are rendering essential services, the medical services, even pharmaceutical services, the journalism and everything, even the security. Without them, we cannot do this. Those who provide those basic essentials to our people, we acknowledge all of you. We want you to sit back. We are back in the sanctuary. We not just animate your spirit, but intimate you about what is to come, how it will come. It's not about prophecy. It's all about evaluation, empirical evaluation, trying to state out things the way they are in proper perspective. You're welcome. Sit back and enjoy the program.
Okay. Once more, thank you for being there. And we are saying welcome to today's program, Thursday edition, 12th day of March 2025. And just to tell you that, it's said the month of anniversary for Udala Radio, because Udala Radio came on board on 21st of March 2025. And we're about to clock that very 1 year. And of course, we have events lined up that we're going to use to interact with you, so that all of us are going to be in that very spirit. And in the spirit of this very anniversary, there is a promo going on for commercials. So if you're going to place one slot, two slot of commercial, of course you're going to get one free. So we are urging you to make use of this very window now and get this done. Okay, so we thank you always for being there. Don't forget, we're always live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM, on Instagram and YouTube. We are Udala Radio. So let's get interactive on those platforms. We are going to look at the headlines on paper this very morning. But before then, Tony, I need to ask, how have you been managing, to sleep at night this very time that we are, we have heat and you don't have power supply? The price of petrol is on the high side. Because in the past couple of days, I have seen lots of pressure on EDC and the Fresh Power. People asking questions about why power supply in the southeast and even in Anambra State has been very abysmal. And yesterday I saw a statement that was issued by Fresh Power head of communication, Izuchukwu Okafor, where he detailed what the issues are. It was a lengthy stuff, and I must say that people were able to mount pressure for them to put out this very explanation. But what is interesting is that yesterday I also stumbled into a news report where it was reported that the managing director of First Power, Dr. Kichukwu Okafo, he apologized to consumers of electricity in Anambra State over the worsening power supply, and he admitted that the company had not performed satisfactorily. He said he was also bearing the brunt, that even his wife was complaining that the food they have in the refrigerator is being on the spoiling side. So, Tony, for you personally, I don't know how, for any other person, but it's been difficult for me.
Well, it's difficult for everyone, not just you. I remember that very poem written by Robert Frost, Acquainted with the Night. In fact, in that very poem, Frost described the loneliness of walking through the city at night, unable to sleep and feeling emotionally burdened. He went further to tell us how he wanders through dark streets, suggesting inner pain, confusion, and isolation during the night. That's the poem Acquainted with the Night by Robert Frost. In fact, if I'm to quote some parts of the very poem, he said, I have been one acquainted with the night. I've walked out in rain and back in rain. That's the feeling, if you ask me, I've been having. I'm just telling you that really I'm acquainted with the night, the way Robert Frost described it in that his very poem. Wanders through the dark streets, and that tells you the inner pain, confusion, and isolation through the night. If you ask me, how have I been coping? That's exactly how I have been coping, as well captured by Robert Frost.
So they said it's about generation. So if we are going to do extrapolation or bring this down to how people will be able to understand it, it is not basically the fault of the discourse, because there's no enough generation that can get to know. According to them, that generation has dropped to about 40% of what it used to be. So the allocation they do get now is quite small, and what they do is to see how they can ration the allocation to be able to get to different parts of the state. So Tony, this issue of generation has been a perpetual tumor to Nigeria, and at this point in time, I don't know why it came at this point in time. Yes, there's something into a video of where Mr. President, made a promise that issue about power is going to be in the past. If you check social media now, you see those videos now trending, just to remind people of what the government promised. But look at what we have now is the antithesis. So, how did we get here that this problem has refused to go?
Well, we are so myopic in our plans, we are so myopic in our effort, we are so myopic in our evaluations, we are so myopic in our thoughts. We have not been able to think outside the box. What we've been doing all this time is just to do what we've been doing that generates or produces no results. We know very well that the fundamental problem with electricity in Nigeria begins with generation, no doubt. But it does not end there. Remember, you have generation, transmission, and distribution. Nigeria generates far less electricity than its population and economic size. No government has come in to see to what we can do to improve our generation capacity. We know it's capital intensive. Most of the borrowings we have had over the time, during the time of Buhari, many Nigerians have suggested that if we have invested, or if we had invested that borrowings into electricity, we will know where we are today. A country of over 240 million people produces only a few thousand megawatts, about sometimes 3,000 megawatts, 3,500 megawatts for the national grid. It's extremely small. And even when these 3,500 megawatts is generated, sometimes it drops to the level of 1,000 megawatts, it drops to the level of 800. It tells you the problem. And we are back to where we were many years back. We saw this during the Obasanjo regime, we saw this during Yaradua, Jonathan, and then Buhari regime. If you ask me what has changed, nothing has changed. There was a time we were told about $16 billion. We invested in electricity sector, but nothing to show for it. At that point, there was a probe, and that probe could not even continue. And those who were involved in that, we are part of the problem we are talking about. We have seen problems even from generation, even distribution inefficiencies. And we are seeing many who have come into the industry lacking requisite capacity Don't know how we do this in this country. We just gift everything to cronies and those who are involved. The truth remains, I've said it many times, that we have to do what other countries are doing. I know very well there are many electricity companies in the world. If you look at State Grid Corporation of China, if you look at Natural Era Energy in the United States of America, if you also look at the EDF, one of the largest electricity producers, in fact, France relies heavily on nuclear power, and EDF operates numerous nuclear plants. We are talking about powering our thermal plants with gas. There are many ways we can generate electricity, and we are not looking at how these can be done. Everybody is looking at the one that can be powered by gas, the thermal plants. The ones we have, the dams we have, of course, they are hydropower dams, where gas is used to power these dams for them to generate electricity. Well, nobody's talking about generating electricity through solar, generating electricity through nuclear plants, and generating electricity through winds. These are ways we can generate electricity. We are not making investment in those areas. We are so much concerned so that whatever happens to the price of gas, or if there is gas shortage, we will go back to where we are. Can you tell me any nation in this world that does not have option A, option B, option C, options D, and try to aggregate these options? The truth remains that we are not serious in this country. We are where we are without making a tangible progress. I'm not in any way apportioning blame to anybody, because it is a kind of problem that has been endemic over time. Look at our refineries as we speak. None of them is functioning. These are state-owned refineries. At Jokute still, none is functioning. He has been there. He has been dormant. He has been in isolation for a long period of time. And we look at the money we spend on running maintenance on something that produces nothing. It's a disgrace. It's a national embarrassment, if you ask me frankly. And I must tell you, until we begin to reason, to dig deep, and we looked at all this and we said, okay, you know what? Let's take electricity out from the exclusive legislative list and see how we can drive investors. No investor is willing to come into that angle. Why? Because of certain bottlenecks that hang around. Because any investor that wants to put in his money will always look at how to make a return on investment. Okay. We know very well, and we do not want to reshuffle, bring a lot of reforms that will make the sector attractive to investors. The way we are going, we cannot make anything out of it. Okay. It's just a temporary.
So it's quite interesting that every government that comes with one policy or one initiative on how to fix the power. Talk about the Obasanjo era. We know how much his government pumped into that very sector, but we have nothing to show for it. You talk about Buhari, where he brought in cement into Nigeria to help us. See, today we don't know how far we have gone with that, and this very government, made a promise, and people are now trying to bring those words into context. So maybe we get to listen to this before.
Whichever way, by all means necessary, you must have electricity, and you will not pay for estimated bill anymore. A promise made will be a promise kept. If I can't keep the promise and I come back for second term, don't vote for me.
Okay, so that statement was won in 2023, and now we are in the first term of Mr. President, going towards his second term. Yes, next is going to be an election. So if people begin to judge him by what he said, I don't know whether it's going to be fair or whether it's going to be unfair, but that was his exact words. Okay, so we have to look at the headlines we have this very morning on the pages of our newspapers. We have 4 of them: The Guardian, Vanguard, The Nation, and the Punch newspaper. Okay, so we'll begin with the headlines we have on the Guardian newspaper. And the first story here says, World Kidney Day. Caregivers groan as dialysis hits 80,000 naira per session. Transplant, 30 million naira. That's so humongous. And that story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. 80,000 naira per session of dialysis and transplant is now about 30 million naira. And interestingly, we have many Nigerians who are now suffering from kidney diseases. It's quite a very big one. Was it not last time that Daniel Bwala was talking about free dialysis that the federal government has instituted in different health institutions across the country? If they are working, I cannot speak to that. Then another headline says Udala decries borrowing to fund budget, gets Senate ministerial nod. The story is on page 4. He was confirmed yesterday after about 2 hours of questions and answers by the Senate. Another headline says bandits reportedly kill 14, injure others in Katsina twin attack. You can see that on page 20. That's on page 20 of the Guardian. Reps query NSCDC over sugar import. Okay, not NSCDC. Reps query NSDC over sugar import. Demand oil asset detail from NMPCL. 2027, I think the federal fault removal of certificate clause as Rep amend Electoral Act. That story is on page 6. This one happened yesterday. Interest in bonds improves as February auction records 92% bid to cover ratio on page 6. ADC factions in Cross River or your battle over state structural control on page 7. Lawmaker threaten action as foreign airlines owe fan 18.98 billion naira on page 4. Minister shows control amid loss of 65 soldiers in jihadist raid. That story is on page 3. The Minister of Defense, yesterday he had a meeting with the defense chiefs where he told them that they have to, re-strategize in the fight against different kinds of crimes. And he confirmed that 65 soldiers, were lost in jihadist raids. The number isn't a small number, 65 soldiers. You know what that means to our country. Iran vows no liter of oil will cross Hormuz. Advises countries to prepare for $200 per barrel on page 3. Fresh strike blooms over delay in implementation of FGRSU renegotiated pact on page 3. I don't know why it's already difficult for us to, walk the talk, because federal government has been able to do this renegotiation and they were able to come to an agreement with ASU. And the next thing is to ensure that what was agreed is implemented to latter. And if you have Wukwego and other things. So we do not know why government is, delaying in getting all these things done. We go over to Vanguard newspaper and the big story says Middle East war, despite Dangote's price cut, petrol is still 1,300 naira per liter. You can see that story on page 5. FG spending on domestic debt. FG spending on domestic debt service falls 38% to $405.3 million on page 20. FG unveils plan to connect all Nigerian schools to internet on page 9. PDP crisis, elders heed appeal court advice, move to reconcile feeding camps. Nigerian, 121 others injured as Iran hits UAE on page 6 of Vanguard newspaper. Another headline says, Reps amend Electoral Act, propose 10 million naira fine, 2-year jail term for dual party membership on page 9. Insecurity, Defense Minister summons service chiefs over rising attacks on page 8 of a Vanguard newspaper. And on the Nation newspaper, we have headlines like Senate clears Udala as a minister, page 3. IG asks court to dismiss El Rufai's 1 billion naira suit on page 4. Wike-backed PDP faction leads terms for reconciliation. Camp fixes presidential primary for May 23. Marking the Turaki group raises peace panel. Okay, so let's see whether we'll be able to find the truth there. Terrorist attacks, military on top of game, says Musa. All these they are all coming up from that very meeting between the Minister of Defense and the service chiefs. Why Gulf oil gas producers should invest in Nigeria by Toga, the Foreign Affairs Minister. Then, House of Reps criminalizes membership of two parties on page. Okay, this is not clear enough. APC senators now 84. 3 senators, 5 reps member dump PDP LP on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. Middle East crisis, federal government rules out petrol price control on page 7. That was coming from the Minister of the Economy Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy. Wale Dun yesterday he was on TV where he talked about that. Assembly proposes relocation of Makoko resident to Aboa. The story is on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. And the last headline we can take on the front page of the Nation says VC's face probe over alleged misuse of TET phone allocation. That's on page 8 of the Nation newspaper. And we go to the last paper we have this very morning. Is the Punch newspaper. The big story there says monopoly fears rise as Dangote controls 14.4 trillion naira petrol market. The story is on page 2. It has some riders. Labour economists, energy experts flag monopoly risk in post-import ban market. OPS warns against hasty price regulation, demands NNPC refineries overhaul. NMDPRA rejects return to fuel imports. Stakeholders insist on PMS price regulation. Nigeria spent 5.2 billion naira servicing external debt. Or rather, Nigeria spent $5.2 billion servicing external debt in 2025. That's what it can be found on page 22 of the Punch newspaper. Electoral Act reps OK jail for dual party membership on page 7. Osun governorship. Adeleke Oyebamaji dream victory as campaign begins on page 30. Fear in Ondo communities as kidnappers tighten grip on Akure North on page 3. Joshua's uncle confirms boxers move to Dubai. The story is on page 31. Appeal court fallout. Makinde Balas split over Wike peace deal. Appeal court fallout. Makinde Balas split over Wike peace deal. The story is on page 2. Are we having more back on
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, thank you for staying tuned to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You are listening to The Polity. My name is Franklin Nebukanda. I'm with Tony Olisambeki on today's program. It's 9:39 a.m. and time for us to look at what the issues are. So, Tony, if you check social media this very morning, if you check X and check Facebook, you will see that the woman that accused the Minister of Works, Devon Mahi, of trying to exploit her, the one that said that she did the contract for him and he refused to pay him. If you check social media now, you see that she's trending because the woman Tracy Nicholas Ohiri has apologized to the Minister of Works, David Umahi, over allegations she earlier made against him, saying the claims may have been misunderstood and taken out of context. Now, in the video which is now circulating on social media, Ohiri says she reached the decision after consulting with her family, friends, and legal team and reviewing the events surrounding the controversies. And if you get to hear what she said, it appears like she has recanted all the allegations she leveled against the minister. Now, don't forget that Ohiri had earlier alleged that the former governor of Ebonyi State owed her about 200 million naira for promotional materials, which she claimed that she supplied during the 2014 governorship campaign in that very state. And she alleged that during the meeting in a hotel that the minister entered her room wearing only a toy and made advances towards her. And now the video is out where she said that she's very sorry and what have you. So let's hear from her before we now get to do the analysis proper and know what this portends for we commentators.
Good day, Nigerians. After proper consultation with my family, friends and legal team, and a painstaking review of events of the past weeks, I have come to the conclusion that it's important we give peace a chance. I admit that Engineer Deacon David Umahi, the former governor of Ebonyi State and the current Minister of Works, did not inform me that what happened to the Neyland engineers would happen to me if I visit Ebonyi State. I do not know the Neyland engineers except what I read about them on the internet and what I heard from people. I apologize to Engineer Deacon David Umahi for the embarrassment this allegation may have caused him and his family. I sincerely apologize to his family, to my own family, friends, and everyone who felt hurt and embarrassed with what happened. I never said Engineer Deacon David Umahi tied towel to meet me in a hotel room. I apologize if the allegations have been magnified and taken out of context. My family and I have decided to move on and face our lives and business. I will want everyone to respect this decision. On the issue of the contract, I admit there was no formally signed agreement between Deacon David Umahi and I. Although the job was done and delivered to his aides, they might have used the material for campaign purposes without informing him and without him knowing about it. I apologize sincerely for any misgivings that this might have cursed. Thank you so much, and God bless each and every one of us.
Okay, so Tony, that's it. And since the people are saying that he might have done this under duress, some people are saying that he might have been settled, but the bigger picture has been people are now saying, for those who jumped on the hard case, what becomes of them now? And then what does that now put out there? How people are going to approach issues about allegations whenever it's coming from a woman. So Tony, let's go.
It's not all about a woman. I don't want to paint it that it's just all about a woman. A man could have done the same thing, but that tells you that the woman in question, for what she has rendered, portrays her as somebody who is opportunistic and somebody who has brought disgrace to womanhood. She boasted onto social media with explosive claims, hundreds of millions in unpaid campaign supplies, sleazy sexual advances from Dave Umahi, intimidation, and even everything, painting herself as a victim of elite predation. Then, the moment the heat turned up against Dave Umahi, she cowardly deleted every single video, post, evidence, like a thief caught in the act. Vanished into a thin air, leaving nothing but the stench of lies and attention-warring stunts. It wasn't bravery, if you ask me. It was a calculated robbery designed to really paint a picture. Look at what happened. Trust politicians. The power of money. The woman has been settled. But she was given a condition that she has to make these recantations and make certain submission. In fact, she may have been given part payment, and she was asked to go on with her recantation that she'll be given full payment. But people that are manipulating this woman, they have not seen anything. This same woman will come out tomorrow to paint another picture if something spoils in this arrangement they have currently. They have arrangement. Recant everything, because you know what she was making this allegation. I said, Dave Umahi's political career is at crossroad. Dave Umahi is nurturing ambition to become president of Nigeria from Igbo extraction. He wants to become the first Southeasterner that will be the president of Nigeria. That's why you see him doing all the subservient services he has been doing. He's making certain statements that are very alarming. and making different statements that are not really ethical in real or proper sense of it. He's a typical politician, somebody who will tell you that God is busy. And if you look around, I don't want to say it's because this woman is a woman. A man could have as well done this. These politicians, probably she's talking about how much? She's talking about 25 million, which by now, if you add interest, 200 million. That's what she's talking about. If you are giving 5 billion and asked to make this statement, frankly, it takes integrity for you to resist some temptation. If you are giving, she may not have been given 5 billion, she may have been given probably 1 billion or 1.5 billion. And somebody who is making a claim of 200 million or 250 million, and she's promised 1.5 billion to make this recantation. I trust likes of Chowere and Deji, they will dig deep, because the woman has betrayed them. Do you know many Nigerians are trapped at the hospital, that very hospital, when the officials of the Nigerian Correctional Center wanted to take her back to the prisons and they blocked such entrance? They say that definitely she has to be attended, and even when her bail applications were perfected, she was still not allowed to be released. The claims she made about the Commissioner of Police, Fakarode, what about all these claims? These things are everywhere. And one thing, the woman felt that she was smart and felt that it would go that way. She was deleting those videos, those posts she made on her social media handles. But now, knowing that these things have been shared, they are everywhere. So if you delete the ones you've made on your handle, what about those who share those videos, who share those posts? And remember, the same woman was calling on Nigerians to come to her aid, and Nigerians came to her aid. The same woman disappointed Nigerians by collecting money. Allegedly. She collected money allegedly, and now disappointed Nigerians. So you feel everybody can now see that Nigerians, you are the bargaining chip, as we usually say. Whenever anybody wants justice, the person will call on Nigerians. And whenever there is subterranean agreement or settlement, the person will come out and say, you want to give a peace a chance, and then you want everybody to respect this decision. What about those who trooped out? What about those who slept at that hospital? What about those who left whatever they were doing to get into your case, to be involved in your case, and now you have taken settlement? I trust those people, they will sue the woman. This woman cannot go scot-free. Those who may have invested so much to sue this woman for blackmail. But you may think that for you to have locus as far as this case is concerned, because you have to be Dave Umai, whose name was taken round, but because from the look of things, the woman is saying she erroneously blackmailed Dave Umai. But we know what happened. Now, those who were dragged into this should also file a fundamental suit. Having been deceived, having been brought out to the way they were brought out, having been made to look like fools, they have been cowardly, made to dance to these things. They they made sick dresses in court for what have happened.
Some people are saying that the story of Tracy is a mockery of the real victims, who seek for justice in one way or the other in the country. They are saying that if you look at what happened, of course, it might have an implication for those who actually have genuine agitations against one person in power or the other. Do you see that happening? And secondly, what does this say about how we jump on people's people's cases? Because this time around, we have seen that what happens now is once one person has come up with an allegation, and especially once it's against a politician, because there is already a bias or hate, people jump on it without waiting to hear the other side of the story. Even when they hear, for the fact you're a politician, you are seen as guilty.
Well, there is this hate against politicians, there's no doubt, because of the way things are in the country. And most times you look around, these politicians have their wars, have their people outside the country, but they put people the way they are, without opportunities, with decayed and disastrous infrastructures. And most times they will try to paint the picture that they are the messiah, even when they are using the public funds. They will make it to look as if they are using their funds to do these things. But if you talk about those who have genuine complaints against those in power, it's not about, there are people that have genuine complaints. It's not about having genuine complaints. It's about succumbing to pressure. When people will come for you, when people will be there for you, you succumb to pressure and turn those people who are there for you as if they were fools. Exactly what this woman did. There are people that have, and this will make Nigerians to be very careful. Anybody that now has a genuine complaint, people will be very careful. Some will say you have to sign agreement with us that you will not be settled, or even when you are settled, you will not go and recant. The woman that was accusing Pastor Chris Okafo, she came out openly and said that she was offered a lot of things for her to recant. Why she did not go to that extent? Probably because her own has to do with psychological damage and reputational damage, and knowing very well that this is what she stands before the entire Nigerians. So the issue is this. People, let me say this. There is this saying that says everyone has a price. There are those that once you meet their price, they will change from black to white. Once you're able to meet their price, this woman she's a businesswoman. I know most businesswomen, they love money. They speak the language of money. Not just women, businessmen. They speak the language of money. Once money is out, services rendered, even the one you did not ask, will also add it upon you. Is exactly what happened. When this woman started this, I knew it would turn out this way. That's why I never discussed about it. I was telling myself, Shebi, when they give you money now, you go change the story. I was saying this. Has it not happened? When they give you money now, you go change the story. Has she not changed the story? Did I put my effort or my strength or anything to talk about this when you know that she will change the story by the time she's well compensated? So okay. I don't bother about these things. These are the nature of human character.
Now, as it stands now, there was one podcast that I used to follow, KAA. I'm aware that this very podcast, the host brought the woman and interviewed her, and she was explosive in the interview. That same platform reached out to Umahi's side to get their own side of the story. They didn't actually come forward. Now, the guy is saying that he has reached out to the woman to try to find out what actually happened. You know, he called, she didn't take the call. He sent messages on WhatsApp, she did not respond. And he has also reached out to Showere to ask him questions if he was aware about what happened. And according to him, that what Showere told him is just money is root of all evil. So, on that very case, we're going to raise this matter and then get to what happened yesterday in the House of Reps. So, Tony, at this point, I know 3 weeks after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed the Electoral Act of 2026 into law, controversies and the uncertainties during the election guidelines for 2027 poll have refused to wane over concerns of alterations and provisions that may jeopardize the hitch-free conduct of the elections. And now that when parties were still scrambling, to meet street deadlines, which were set by, INEC and also the Electoral Act, we know that INEC released the revised timetable for 2027 general elections, and that timetable has stipulated when parties are expected to have their primaries and what have you not. And many parties are trying to see how they will be able to meet up with these timelines. Then yesterday, the House of Reps approved an amendment to the Electoral Act of 2026. This time around, seeking to expressly prohibit Nigerians from registering as members of more than one political party at the same time, while prescribing stiff penalties for offenders. Now, this amendment, which was sponsored by the majority leader of the House, Ihumbere, now he proposes a fine of 10 million naira, a 2-year prison term or both for any person convicted of knowingly maintaining membership in multiple political parties simultaneously. And that proposal was adopted after consideration at the Committee of the Whole, which was chaired by the Deputy Speaker of the House, Benjamin Kalu. This is our situation now. The Electoral Act, which was signed into law recently, people were calling for a review, saying that some provisions were not good for Nigeria, and they were asking that it should be reviewed. But they said the door has been closed because it's been signed by the Mr. President. Now the House of Rep has gone to do an amendment. What that simply means that if the Senate has to concur too, if that is going to be reflected in this very electoral act. And the question is, where did this come from? After the break, we're going to answer this.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
Onitsha ndị nwe ahịa, nke a bụ ụzọ anyị si asị unu daalụ maka ọmarịcha otu afọ nke nzikọrịta ozi. Udala Radio dị otu afọ n'ọnwa Maachị a. N'ọnwa Maachị a niile, Udala nwere onyinye pụrụ iche maka ịgba afọ ọhụrụ a. Ịzụta advert slot abụọ, inwe otu mgbakwunye onyinye n'efu. Ịnụrụ nke ọma, ohere nke mgbasa ozi ahịa, ozi ọbụla maọbụ nke program, ekwu ụgwọ, nweta ohere abụọ, anyị agbakwunyere gị otu. Nke a bụ ohere ị nwere ime ka ndị Ọnịcha n'obodo ndị ọzọ nụ ma mara maka ahịa gị. Gbata ọsọ ozugbo n'ihi ohere pụrụ iche a malitere ugbu a ma bụrụ nke ga-abịa n'isi njedebe n'ụbọchị nke 31 n'ọnwa Maachị nke afọ a, n'ọnwa mgbakwunye afọ Udala. Maka ndebanye na ajụjụ, kpọọ anyị na 0803-350-4206 maọbụ ịbịa n'ụlọ ọrụ anyị dị n'Ọnịcha na nọmba 5 Okono Street n'okirikiri DMGS Roundabout. Ya bụ inwe ike ịkpọ anyị na 0803-350-4206 maọbụ ịbịa n'ụlọ ọrụ anyị na nọmba 5 Okono Street n'okirikiri DMGS Roundabout Ọnịcha. Udala Radio emeela otu afọ n'ọnwa Maachị a, ọkpọkọpi n'ezie.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic. From the commercial city of Onitsha comes Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, where authentic news and entertainment meet. Udala Radio 104.7 FM, seriously authentic.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Of course, you are listening to the Polity on the Radio 104.7 FM, 9:58 a.m. My name is Franklin Ebuka, I'm with Tony Olisambeki on today's program. So we talked about the amendment that was made yesterday by the House of Reps to the 2026 Electoral Act. And people were asking, where did that come from? As it is now, what is the fate of this very amendment? Is it going to sail through or not? I'll just give you a snippet of what happened yesterday before Tony comes in with the analysis.
Political party. The register, Mr. Chairman, I can guarantee you. Let me tell you the truth, Mr. Chairman. Some people registered in 2 political parties. They register in 2 political parties. What should be the punishment? Thank you for raising that. People are struggling now. The political parties are struggling. Thank you. We should not encourage that. We should not encourage temptation. It's fraudulent misrepresentation. You should be able to identify with a political ideology, be known with it, stand by it. But to go and deliberately register in 2 political parties, that is deceit. That is why this thing is there. You know, so Komoti, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, so Tony, you heard from the House yesterday during that very debate, and the people were asking the amendments, where did it come from? Because maybe nobody foresaw it. So what that means now is that if you belong to 2 political parties, you can go in for that.
Well, when this amendment was done, it tells you the power of those who are working for Mr. President to see things even before every other one sees those things. Yes. I remember before Mr. President became the candidate of APC, Femi Gbajabiamila was the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and different legislative amendments were made in a way that it cannot be skimmed out. If you look at Section 84 of the Electoral Act of 2022, it tells you that even if a party decides to go for consensus, that all the aspirants must be in agreement, especially when a candidate emerges, that if an aspirant says no, it's not going to work. It was meant to ensure that Mr. President, who had his acolytes spread at different organs of government, protect his interest. And they did other reforms and legislative amendments. I'm saying this one as one of those amendments that will also ensure his unblemished and unscathed emergence as the president, not as the candidate, because we're not talking about the candidate. I look around, yes, P2B, who is one of his challengers, must be or should be, or according to some of his acolytes, should be incapacitated.
So do you think that this is targeted at him?
I'm just trying to relate the pattern. I'm not saying it is targeted at him. You know why I'm relating the pattern? One is he left the Labour Party. He announced that he's leaving Labour Party, and he also defected to ADC, but he did not write resignation letter. No evidence of writing resignation letter, because once you've written a resignation letter to your ward chairman, intimating your ward chairman that you are no more a member of this very party, and you would wish to be seen as no more a member of the party. But I've checked every document before me, like Obaze wrote a letter to his ward chairman, and many of them that left, they wrote letter, but he did not write letter. There is this suspicion that if he did not pick the candidate, the presidential ticket of ADC, that he may go back to Labour Party. I remember one of the amendments, INEC should submit, political parties should submit the digital membership of his party to INEC 21 days before their primaries. What does that tell you? If, let's assume that he is a member of ADC, and before primaries, that is submitted to INEC, and he cannot be seen to be a member of another political party, where the political party they want to make sure that he is not in those two political parties. That is one. And secondly, situation where he loses here cannot in any way, because there is a window, make him to go back to the other party and pick a ticket. That is the ingenuity of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because for me, I have said it many times, he has no rival as far as 2027 is concerned.
So what if
no opposition?
What if Obi resigned from Labour Party and wrote to the party, but he did not make public the letter of resignation?
Most times, it's another thing that must be determined by the time political parties submit their membership register, which is digital. Is there a way to checkmate all those things? Why it is digital is because your name and all those things. So this seems to be under close scrutiny. Yes. 21 days before your primaries, as we saw in the other amendment. If he's here and it is also in the other one, it means that he's ineligible. Definitely, it becomes a case where the person will be convicted twice and possibly be convicted. That is one. So, if he may have done that without making it public, by the time Labour Party submits its digital register and ADC submits its digital register, these things will be there. So, if it is there, it's a problem for him. If it is not there, he cannot change it afterwards. If he loses at ADC, and he will have nowhere to run to, they want to make it this way that, let me say this in a simple way. They want to make it this way where some people will lose presidential ticket of one party and run to another party to pick up the ticket. They want to use this law to cage everybody. Once you lose, you won't go to any other party to pick a ticket. You will remain there. But that is the masterclass of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He knows what he's doing.
Okay, so let's look at how this very provision, which has been proposed, how it aligns with the fundamental human rights of freedom of association. It's not news that party members or politicians belong to two parties. In fact, the one I witnessed was That was about 3 years ago in Oka, where I went for APGA event. I saw people there displaying their party membership card. 2 days after, I went to PDP event. I saw the same set of people displaying PDP membership card, and I was asking myself, so perhaps this has become a routine for them, that they acquire this very card so that they'll be able to benefit from either of the party, anyone that brings out the money. Now look at this very proposal. The House, went to amend the Electoral Act of 2026, and they are looking at amending Section 77 of the Electoral Act by inserting new subsections aimed at strengthening party membership regulations and preventing what the lawmakers describe as manipulative political practices capable of undermining party primaries and internal democracy. Under the proposed amendment, a new subsection states that no individual shall be registered as a member of more than one political party at the same time. If you look at Section 77(9), it provides that where it is discovered that a person belongs to more than one political party simultaneously, such dual membership shall automatically become void, and the individual will cease to be recognized as a valid member of any political party until the membership status is regularized in accordance with the law and the constitution of the affected party. Then look at Section 10, Section 77, subsections 10 of this very amendment. It went further to criminalize deliberate dual membership, saying that any person who knowingly registers or maintains membership in more than one political party commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine of 10 million naira or to imprisonment for a term of 2 years or both. But that same yesterday, before this was passed, there was this very debate among lawmakers on the potential clashes of this very provision with the constitutional right of a person, freedom of association as granted by Section 40 of the 1999 Constitution. So, Sonny, how does this provision, place before the fundamental human right as provided in the 1999 Constitution?
If you talk about fundamental human right, freedom of association, that's political parties are association, but when we talk about political business, you cannot be member of a two political party. I don't think any country allows it, and you cannot in any way say the Constitution under Section 40 talks about freedom of association, so I can be here, I can decide to be everywhere I want. It wouldn't work, or it cannot work when it comes to being a member of a political party. Remember, once a political association is registered, it ceases to be an association, it becomes a political party. There's a difference between political association and political party. You can be a member of different political associations, but you cannot be a member of different political party. Party is institutionalized, is in the Constitution, and they have their functions, their businesses regulated, well carved out. You look at it this way, you find that it has nothing to do with that section. It does not in any way interferes or infringes or contravenes the provision of Section 40, which talks about freedom of association. Association, just like I said earlier on, is different from political parties. You can have political associations. Before these political parties are registered, they will first and foremost come from the angle of political association. Once they are registered, they no more remain political association, they remain political parties.
But if you look at the 1999 Constitution, the freedom of association does not necessarily mean the liberty to belong to a group, or liberty to belong to an association. It's liberty to mix up with people you like, mix up with group you like, go to the church, go to the church you like, and what have you not. Now, because people are now looking at this and saying, just like you said, that it seems like this is like a contrived provision that is going to be used as a tool against people, because from what the lawmakers said, they said that the use of NIN is going to help them to detect. And don't forget that in the Electoral Act, which already signed into law, It provides that any member of the political party must register with NIN. You must be identified with that. So if you look at this whole thing, can we say that lawmakers are serving personal purpose, or they are doing something that is going to help to sanitize our political system? Because the practice of being member of a two political parties at the same time, somebody might tell you that it's manipulative and it's honest, don't you?
Well, I have said it many times. If you say that they are trying to sanitize, Mr. President has the legislative body on his palms. Would I say judiciary? Would I say INEC institutions will work the way he wants them to work? He's the president, the most powerful democratically elected president in terms of powers enshrined in that very country's constitution, not in terms of what the country can do, especially if it gets into war with any other country. I'm not talking about that. We saw this when Mr. President was coming out for the election that produced him as the president. The institution of the legislature worked for him through the instrumentality of the likes of Femi Miller. But Ahmad Lawan did not understand the rhythm. He did not understand the game so early. In fact, so he did not understand. He understood very late. He was concerned about using the state power, because the cabals have promised him that you are the chosen one. He was relying on the fake promise given to him by the cabal. So he did not look at using legislative framework to protect his ambition. Femi Miller and his cohorts used legislative framework to protect the ambition of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that has not stopped. As we speak now, some of these things happening to ensure that he has a seamless victory. And from the look of things, he has no challenger. He has no position. From the look of things, institutions are working at his, I won't say pleasure, but his guidelines. That is it. And just like I explained earlier on, sometimes you may not need to be a soothsayer to know some of these things. They have looked at those who could be a challenger, and they are looking at things they can use legislative wise to get them pigeonholed, to get them stationed where they would be, and that is working. And that's why they introduced the issue of NIN to shake those who may think they are clever by half, those who may want to maneuver, those who would want to, if they don't get it here, they will go there, knowing fully well that they may have some people following them or the masses going for them, but they will use legislature to break such nuances. Yes, but that's the way it is. It is what it is. And everybody who is in power will do everything within his capacity to make things to be very easy for him. Just like we know very well, if you were there or if anybody could have been there, I don't know. People who are in power, most times they don't want people to challenge them. And it is natural. But there are those that would also say, you know what, let's try it. If our elections are based on performance, we won't be paying this. But it's not based on performance. It's based on structure, party grip. And it's also based on those you have on your side, who can do and undo, those who can use legislation, or those who can use legislation, those who can use judiciary, those who can use institutions to your own advantages. That's what some of these political parties or these contenders look at. They are not looking at, let me do my work, performs, and then through my performance I will have no challenger.
All right.
I don't know. Okay. That's the way it is.
Okay, so we talked about power supply in the southeast. Guess what? As we speak now, people are protesting in Lagos over the same issue of poor power supply. Now let's talk about Nigeria and the debt service. If you look at the headline on Punch newspaper, it talked about Nigeria spending $5.2 billion servicing external debt in 2025. We are just 3 months into the year, and the government has spent $5.2 billion to service external debt. Would there be a time when we start talking about spending huge amount of our revenue on servicing debt?
Well, every country services debt, no doubt. We are not the only one. But the question is, the debt we are servicing, what was it used for? Did we see any meaningful project that the money was used for? I was actually looking at the issue of power we talked earlier on when we started. It has been said that we need between 100 to 150 billion dollars to fix our power system, starting from the grid infrastructure to expansion of dams to investment in solar, wind, hydro, nuclear plants as we may wish. And at the same time, even renewable energy, as South Africa is doing. South Africa has added about 6,000 megawatts to their grid from renewable energy. How much did South Africa borrow? South Africa borrowed, if I can recall the amount they borrowed, of course they borrowed from global partners and they invested that money into renewable energy. Their own case is when they say they will borrow, they will make it open where the money is going into. Yes, South Africa borrowed $8.5 billion from global partnership and they invested it into their renewable energy because for them they are transitioning to cleaner and more reliable energy system. They are talking about many of them are building solar farms. You know, people talk about farms thinking you can build solar farms. They have amended their laws where private investors can build solar farms, wind farms. These are farms where energy can be generated. Even some small hydro projects. They are looking at adding more to that. And I know very well that their company, this company, I think Eskom company, there was a time they were having load shedding and all that, but not the way we're having it. Remember, South Africa as at that time was producing about 65,000 megawatts. We are producing about 3,000 megawatts, but they were producing 65,000 megawatts, and they were still having load shedding where there are some days, or there were some days they had blackouts, and they were not really comfortable with that. They have to make investment. They made borrowings and targeted to renewable energy. But we have looked at our power sector. I've said it many times. Look at Gencos, for instance. Gencos, they are saying that disabling power plants, one of the Gencos, many of them are complaining that they buy gas to fire some of these hydro dams. They buy gas. And if you look at their estimates, they are supposed to be paid about 300 billion naira every month. But what they are being paid, they receive between 30 to 40% of that 300 billion naira they are supposed to be paid every month for either maintaining the plants, the buying of gas to fire the power plants and other expenses they incur. They are saying, if we do not receive this money, how do we service, or how do we make our service to be efficient? How do we buy gas to generate energy as expected? How do we ensure that these infrastructures we have here, they work seamlessly? How do we address the problems, the challenges, the concerns some of these infrastructures have from time to time? They need money. And how do they get this money? From distribution companies. Distribution companies don't even pay more. The government comes in with their own subsidy tariff system. But in the end of the day, it is being observed that about 300 billion naira they are supposed to be paid every month from the invoices they prepared, they get between 30 to 40%, and it continues that way. Right now, they are being owed about 6 trillion naira, and by the end of 2026, it may rise to about 8.8 trillion naira if we continue this trajectory. And they have cut down the supply of electricity as a result of not being able to buy gas to generate as much as they could have done because of this shortcomings and so many things.
Now we're talking about servicing our debt, because I know at a point in time our debt servicing was about 92% of our revenue.
Yeah. And
this government came and said they were able to manage it, to bring it down to about, I think, about 62% or thereabout. And according to them, they also aim to do that. And you know that each time we talk about this very borrowing, we keep on saying that nobody's condemning borrowing, but when you're borrowing, you look at your revenue profile and know what the ratio is like before you continue borrowing. So as you speak now, power is our perpetual issue. Would you advise government to go for borrowing and fix power?
Well, what is our GDP current? Our GDP is about plus or minus, using the current exchange rate, about $180 billion, or possibly between $180 billion to $200 billion. That is one. And if you look at our excess foreign, our reserve, I think our reserve should be in the region of about $50 billion. And if you talk about borrowing, if we can borrow to fix power, you have done magnificently. But it's not. If you look at the money that is being touted, about $100 to $150 billion but it's not something we would do in a jiffy. It will be spread over a particular period. It could be 10 years. It could be 5 years. But the truth is that you must start somewhere. If you look at our power infrastructures, they are very, very languorous. They are rickety in every sense. No maintenance, no proper guidance. And we have coal. I think one of the countries I said, I think South Africa, of course, they use coal to fire some of these thermal plants. But we are using gas. What happened? Are we not in any way having coals again? There are many sources of power generation. Which one are we investing in?
All right. So then let's talk about what happened yesterday. Another thing that happened yesterday,
Okay.
because that's yesterday that we saw the House of Rep making an amendment to a part of the Electoral Act that was signed into law recently by Mr. President. But we had seen IPAC and some other persons asking that certain areas of the Electoral Act be amended, like the issue of mandatory requirement for one to register as a party member, then the issue of the timeline required for parties to have their primaries, whereby it is mandated that parties must maintain a digital register. And IPAC has been pushing that these areas should be amended, but nobody listened. And yesterday, IPAC was at the presidential villa where Mr. President hosted them, a national working committee of the APC, and he made a statement saying that he is a Democrat. So, being a Democrat, we're going to put into context whether Mr. President actually is a Democrat, because he went down the memory lane to talk about how he was a member of the NADECO and what have you not. So I think it's better if we hear from him, then we come in to now put what he said into perspective.
I'm glad we are all Democrats. And we all subscribe to this democracy voluntarily, willingly. And we've been at it selflessly in the last 26 years. Some of us are the bruises of it, struggling for it. We went to detention, we protested, we had street hungers, we went on exile and all of that. We formed NADECO. We got here. I followed the leadership destiny that God has done and chosen for me. There's no doubt about that. I'm a die-hard Democrat. And I follow that belief wholeheartedly, committed to united country, Nigeria. That principle and that philosophy will live and die with me. I'm glad I had you as IPAC chairman. Like I started, They are all Democrats. Voluntary. Party alliances, party ideology or no ideology, party vote, party platform, in whichever form, is voluntary. Be persecuted.
Are you ready to launch?
100%.
Okay, so what you just heard is part of that very speech which Mr. President made yesterday. He talked about what IPAC was asking for, that he said he had signed the electoral act, that as it stands now, nothing can be done about it. Mr. President, is he a Democrat, Tony?
Well, he will come from the angle that he was not a member of the legislative houses that came up with this, but we know they work together. And I understand the IPAC issue. IPAC is of the concern that during primaries, you removed delegate primaries. That there's some political parties that cannot afford direct primaries, because for you to have direct primaries, it must be conducted across over 8,000 plus wards in Nigeria. Nigeria has about 8,000 plus wards, and for you to have a direct primary, it must be conducted in these wards across the country. There are so many people that will not have such money to organize such primaries, but they have a consensus mode, meaning that you have boxed all the political parties, smaller parties especially, into consensus primaries, because many of them cannot afford direct primaries. IPAC is of the view that indirect primary mode be also be allowed, as we had it in the past. That these are ways the smaller parties can have a breath of fresh air. That, and let me say this, even some of these smaller parties, those who are mischievous, those who are dubious, they use delegate primaries to make money. They will arrange the list of the delegates. You pay them, and they will use those delegates to ensure your victory, and you settle them. So it's their own way. And it goes on that it has worked over the years. Why would you also make it as no option? But their concern is germane on one corner, because those who made these things, they did it in such a way that if you don't go for if you don't go for consensus, go for direct primaries. And for APC, they'll be having consensus, and that consensus, of course, you know, is going to be Mr. President.
It's easy for them to handle.
Yes. Now, for ADC, can they have what it takes to conduct direct primaries across over 8,000 plus? Because they won't have consensus. ADC will not have consensus. Atiku Priming himself warming up for delegate primary elections, that has been taken away from him. So what it means that he has no fate of his in his own hands. He has no fate of his in his own hand. And if you look at P2B, you find out that yes, he may prefer direct primaries to delegate primaries, because he doesn't bring money to give delegates. He doesn't like giving delegates money. So for someone who does not like giving delegates money, will always prefer direct primaries. But with the direct primaries favor him, because there could be places where it cannot hold, and it can easily be manipulated. The whole thing is to use legislation to pigeonhole some of these parties and ensure that things works out for Mr. President.
So Tony, I'm going to put out these two questions. We'll go for commercial break. After it, we go into calls. The people who are going to call in will also join us to weigh into these very questions. One is this: we have seen IPAC complain. We have also seen some presidential hopeful complain, like Peter Obi, for instance. He said he's going to, challenge this in court and what have you not. But as it stands now, we haven't had anything concrete that anybody has made that very move to challenge that provision, which they think is not in tandem with what the 1999 Constitution envisaged. Take, for instance, they're talking about using the Electoral Act to pigeonhole parties to two system of primary. They are saying that this is parties' internal affair, that parties should be allowed to decide the method. So, can people go to court to challenge this? That's number one. The number two is, in the face of the kind of policies we run in Nigeria, what do you think is best for Nigeria? Like the way the Electoral Act has made it that parties will only adopt either direct or consensus, or it should be the way it was, whereby parties decide whether it should be direct, indirect, or consensus. We'll go for the very commercial break.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, our package and the yellow. Wendy's bread, mama papa they like Wendy's bread, kitchen and duo. Wendy's bread, even children they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, you get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's your bachichoma. Wendy's bread,
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tandy Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
When you think of roofing, think of strength. When you think of durability, think of beauty. And when you think of all three combined, think Best Aluminium MFG Limited. At Best Aluminium, we don't just manufacture roofing sheets. We create protection, comfort, and style for your home and business. Whether you're building from scratch or repairing an old roof, we have exactly what you need. Our products include stone-coated roofing sheets, aluminum roofing sheets, and colored roofing sheets. But that's not all. We also offer residential and commercial roofing services, roof repairs, gutters, emergency roofing services, and even durable cookwares that bring quality to your kitchen. Visit us today at 30/32 Anyika Street, Awada Obosi, Anambra State, or call us right now on 0806-416-2374 or 0706-059-6203.
O nwere keke windscreen pụtara ọhụụ, ịzụrụ ya tinye na keke gị, ịbara okwu ụlọ. Asị m gịnị, ịbara okwu ụlọ maka na ọda awawa. Ọda awawa bụ unbreakable windscreen akọlụ ndị China. Ọsọ gị tụọ ya okwute, kụọ ya hama, inwegodi accident, ọda awawa. Gị bụ onye keke, ọ bụrụ na windscreen gị wara awa, mee ngwa dozie ya tupu anya gọọmenti erute n'ebe ị nọ. Ngwa jee n'ebe ọbụla a na-ere akụrụngwa keke ka ịzụta ọda awawa windscreen, ma ọ bụ ịbịa na Method 105 Upper New Market Road, Onitsha. Ọ dị nso na DMGS Roundabout na ncherịta Rudo Base Filling Station. Ekwentị anyị 0803-2933-719. Ọda awawa, ugegbe kwesịrị ntụkwasị obi.
Bible-based Miracle Assembly, Freedom City, Anambra State, presents special service of song in honor of late Reverend Dr. Umar Okpai. Join us as we honor our father, late Reverend Dr. Umar Okpai, an icon, God's Kingdom General, Apostle of Miracle, a philanthropist whose life on earth made incredible impacts among nations of the earth, ministering Bishop Moses Ezedebego, PFN Chairman, and many more anointed men of God. Music ministers Arinze Lawrence Arihi, Chioma Egwoyuko, Mabel Arihi, Chukudubem Okono. Host Reverend Dr. Jerry Nwachukwu, Power Jam Power. Date Monday 16th March 2026. Time 1 p.m. Venue number 19 Ezendo Street off Mercedes Avenue, Mpo. For inquiries please call 080-3644-3446. Be there. God be with you till we meet
Onitsha, ndị nwe ahịa, nke a bụ ụzọ anyị si asị unu daalụ maka ọmarịcha otu afọ nke nzikọrịta ozi. Udala Radio dị otu afọ n'ọnwa Maachị a. n'ọnwa Maachị a niile Udala nwere onyinye pụrụ iche maka ịgba afọ ọhụrụ a. Ịzụta advert slot abụọ inwe otu mgbakwunye onyinye n'efu. Ehenu ịnụrụ nke ọma, ohere nke mgbasa ozi ahịa, ozi ọbụla maọbụ nke program ịkwụ ụgwọ, nweta ohere abụọ anyị agbakwunyere gị otu. Nke a bụ ohere ị nwere ime ka ndị Ọnịcha n'obodo ndị ọzọ nụ ma mara maka ahịa gị. Gbata ọsọ ozugbo n'ihi ohere ọpụrụ iche a malitere ugbu a ma bụrụ nke ga-abịa n'isi njedebe n'ụbọchị nke 31 n'ọnwa Maachị nke afọ a, n'ọnwa mgbakwunye afọ Udala. Maka ndebanya na ajụjụ kpọọ anyị na 0803-350-4206 maọbụ ịbịa n'ụlọ ọrụ anyị dị n'Ọnịcha na nọmba 5 Okono Street n'okirikiri DMGS Roundabout. Ya bụ inwe ike ịkpọ anyị na 0803-350-4206 maọbụ ịbịa n'ụlọ ọrụ anyị na nọmba 5 Okono Street n'okirikiri DMGS Roundabout Ọnịcha. Udala Radio emeela otu afọ n'ọnwa Maachị a, ọkpọkọpi n'ezie.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Of course, you are listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM on Onitsha, and it's time for you to get involved in the conversation. My name is Franklin Debekat with Tony Olisambeki on the analysis desk. We are going to take your reactions from this very point in time. Don't forget the questions we also raised before that very commercial break. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. You can as well go to our Facebook page and drop your comment. That's only before I take the calls. Showre has reacted. He posted about 1 hour ago and he said, Tracy Nita Nicholas Ohiri's so-called apology. Okay, look at the title. Tracy Nita Nicholas Ohiri's so-called apology video to Works Minister David Umahi. And he says, we didn't fight for Mrs. Ohiri because we believed she was strong. We fought for her because we knew she was vulnerable and lacked the privilege needed to withstand her adversary, a powerful Nigerian minister. Perhaps Engineer David Umahi should explain where the 100 million naira reportedly set aside to settle the matter came from. Along with the video, he strongly demanded be made to exonerate him from the most serious allegations and the agreement to withdraw the criminal charges. Our duty is fulfilled the moment we stand up for the weak against the powerful. And the comment section, one person said that standing up for the weak is where the mission ends. How the oppressed decides to resolve the matter with his or her oppressor is not our concern. So we'll take the calls now. Let's get to hear from you on the issues we have raised this very morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, hello, good morning.
Yeah, this is the voice of Honorable the Mayor, Okuchukume, Okulora, Ochendo, Uwezeneka. Can I go on?
Yes, you can go on.
Yes, Donald Isambeki, I thank you for all your analysis this morning, but I quite disagree with you because you told us that in this our session, we used to call through to a spade. But the issue of amendment that will make somebody to go to jail if he is in two parties, you did not specifically tell us because everybody knows that law was made because of people. I knew quite well. I used to tell you people can do anything humanly possible to see that he makes 2027 and all these things that you see that are going on in this country now. All this plan now is going because of Tinubu's 2027. So anybody to come out to tell me that it is not specifically for P2B is not telling me the truth because I knew had it been P2B is not going the way he's going now, this law cannot be amended. The woman, about that woman, we know Nigerian now, when money come now, people say the woman has been settled. Only that she don't want to come out visibly to tell us what has come. So what Soule has just said, he has just said it all. When things like this is going on, we can come out to defend truth or justice, not because of what the woman will bring or what the woman will do. Now the woman has changed. It did not tell us what go underground. Thank you and God bless you. But let Rubu be careful of the way he's managing Nigeria. It's not his personal property.
Right.
God bless.
Thank you for your input. Okay, 0803 221 6973 or 0803 827 6694. Good morning.
My name is Badmos from Newe.
Go on, Mr. Badmos.
First of all, let me thank Mrs. Ohiri. She has done the needful. You know, there are something people don't know. This money they are talking about, she has realized that Dave Umar actually released the money. But those around him hijack the money. That's the problem we are having in this country. When a governor releases money or give an order, all these SSAs and SAs, they will hijack it and use it for their favor. Now, Dave Umar has taken it upon himself to deal with that his aid that seized the money of this woman. So I wish to give them a round of applause. This is the necessary step. Those that are doing things, if you know that you are doing politics or into anniversary or into occasion, make sure you shake very well. Because you may give your brother money to give to that woman or that man that supply jeans, that did poster, that supply t-shirts. He will eat the money. That's exactly what happened. And the woman has come out to clarify Nigeria that Dave Umahi is innocent. So I thank her courage. She did the needful, and they welcome development. And for Somure and Co.
Thank you. Please try to manage your time, because now one nigga knock online waiting for you to drop your call so that he can come in. So anywhere you want to manage your time, so be able, if you want to talk about two issues, manage your time very well. Okay. Thank you very much. Hello.
Hello. Good morning to Franklin. Good morning. Good morning. Somebody can ring him from Onitsha.
Go on. Good morning.
Going straight to the point. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. The woman should be taken back to the court, and the court have to take its proceedings. You can't just come up with character assassination only for you to, whether they wrote the script for you to come and read, or you write the script. That is your own business. Dave, I don't expect him to accept that, because Dave was insulted, his personality and everything about him. So the woman coming up with the script, whether it is the camp of Dave that wrote it for him, or she herself, because why did you see her looking at those pages of the whatever she's reading from? So, like I said, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So they should do the right thing and get the woman prosecuted. Possibly, if it is 10 or 5 years imprisonment, she has to go to jail. Now, coming to the main issue, petroleum on the hike, I think Nigeria, if I should say it's one of the serious countries, it cannot be an overstatement. The modular refinery was functional. You destroyed them all. Your own refinery is there, functioning under from maximum capacity. And now, we cannot lay hand on the modular refinery. We Nigerians that are using the we complain that it's destroying our car. Out of your own, God knows your plans or whatever, and you came and destroyed the modular refinery. Yes, your phone is not functional. So trying to say Iran did this, Iran did that. Most of our elite use their refinery out of this country.
Dickie, that will be all.
So it's a very long run. So if this war should go on, fuel may end up at 3,000 naira per liter or 2,000 naira per liter.
All right. Thank you, Dickie. Thank you for understanding. Please call, manage your time so that your brother can come in, okay? We know that many people are on the line wanting to ventilate what they have in mind. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
This is Akamara.
Okay, Akamara, you are flouting good communication.
Okay,
all right.
I've done.
All right.
I've done that. So my speaker, I'm grateful the way you are talking to us every morning.
Thank you so much.
Also, my brother Franklin, you guys are doing well. I want to react on this woman. I just want to talk because it's like most of our women are just, I don't know how to put it, but it's like they are talking nonsense. Last time we saw one who came out and said she was raped.
Okay, okay. Let's not say they are talking nonsense. Maybe you can use another word to describe.
Okay,
maybe
that's why I said,
inconsistency
I
or
don't
something
know.
like that.
Yes, I don't know how to put it. But the last time the other one came out and said she was raped. After it took that very dark man to say he wants to pursue this case, before you know it, she came out and tell us that there's nothing like that. And this one has come out now to be saying us nonsense. Because when this thing came out, all of us were criticizing about it. How can someone like David Omahe hold that kind of woman? We want to know what actually happened. And now she's come out and telling us that thing is not real. I don't understand this kind of country. I don't know. Even if she was settled, as my speaker has said, what of those who just took it upon their head to pursue this case? So what would they be doing now? That's why all this, most of times hearing these things, it gives all concern in this country. It's like all of us, what we are looking for is money. Everyone is looking for money. Okay, look at now, this Dangote has reduced its own price. But go and check all these police stations now. They have not reduced their price. But immediately the fuel was increased. All of them was in a haste to just increase their fuel price. But now it has reduced. They will not reduce it.
All right.
That is what will happen in this country.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Akambere. Okay. You can reach us through our phone lines or just quickly go to our Facebook page and drop your comment there. Definitely, we are going to head to that place and acknowledge your post. Good morning. Hello. Okay. Try again. Let's see whether we'll be able to hook on that very one. 080 3221 697. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name? Could you say your name again? What did you say is your name?
Concerning the law, they say that is really involved in this involved in this time.
Okay. Sorry, we lost the call. So you can reach us on our Facebook page or call 0803 827 6694. Good morning.
Good morning, Frank.
Yes, you're welcome on board.
Good morning to you.
You're welcome.
My name is Mario Kichi.
Go on, Mario.
Whether Dave Omar like it or not, or anybody like it or not, Dave Omar, you did that. Whatever the woman is telling us is behind the camera. Maybe he has been threatened, or maybe try to, but all whatever they are doing is just to cover up. But whether the man did it because what the woman gave us when she was laying that claim, she gave us the chat and the messages the minister of house and whatever, the minister of work, the whole messages from him. So how come it now turned to movie? That is Nigerian government for you. On serious set of people, a huge allegation like that came up. The government cannot even investigate because they know that it is true. I'm not even shocked of it because they are all the same. Because the other senators that went to America, UK, for a function went there to be demanding for women for sex. In Nigeria, nothing still happened. But, well, that is the kind of place we find ourselves. And tomorrow they will see an election.
Okay.
Well, that is the country we find ourselves. Thank you. But on the petroleum issue, whether anybody likes it or not, if you like, you blame anybody you like. Dangote is not the problem of your wahala. If Americans stop bombing Iran today and business starts, fuel will go down because it is affecting everybody, not only Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mario. So let's go to our Facebook page now. We have a couple of comments there. Okay, a lot of them, about 16 of them. And the very first one is coming from Christian Umunna, where he says the Nigerian government should help Dangote refinery by supplying crude oil to the refinery at a reduced price at this point in existence. This would ensure the continuous production and refining of oil in Nigeria, even in turbulent times, and slightly reduce fuel prices for Nigerians. The war in the Middle East would last until the Americans realize that the world global power system has been replaced with the world geopolitical power system and leave geopolitical powers to govern their spaces. Rutrato Biago Ikechukwu Christopher, listening from College of Education in Sube, he says, how do we explain to the outside world that double registration in political parties carries 10 years jail term, while result forgery is not an offense? Why can't the lawmakers make a law that will prohibit them from jumping from one political party to another? I can't figure out the reason behind this. Maybe the head of the nation has alleged forged certificate, which he tries to make a norm in the country. Recall that the former head of state has similar issue of certificate. Nigeria and its amended electoral act is a mockery to a nation. This one is from Dr. Ms. Simon Lebera from where she says, greed and avarice are the root causes of all these defections. Without opposition, democracy is meaningless. We are in a serious trouble in this country, a situation where a ruling party tries to silence and destroy opposition, pushing the nation to a one-party state. It becomes dictatorship and no longer democracy. Shall we just be watching these people destroy our hard-earned democracy? These people don't even understand the implications of what they are pushing us into. And she says, danger is looming. Comrade Henry Elu from Showlight Onitsha says, if sacrificing a virgin man will put an end to the present electricity problem in Nigeria, I am ready. EDC is unarguably the worst distribution company in Nigeria. Why will we be having this abysmal power supply? And they still have the guts to be billing one-room apartment 19,500 here in Showlight. Cheluzie Prince says, my take is on this electricity challenge we are going through now. Please, can't we build a power plant that will be giving us electricity just as CDC in Abia State? And another question I want to ask Tony is, please, is it not possible for a governor to build a refinery in his state so we can stop always depending on Dangote refinery? So if you take note, Ichie Billions is asking, is the Strait of Hormuz inside Iran that made them threaten the whole world with Strait of Hormuz? So we take note too. Ifeanyi George Fedora says, for me, all the electoral amendments we have implemented in this country have not produced any genuine result in our elections. Rather, they have given some of our politicians an opportunity to suppress others. Talking about Mr. President looking for means to make sure that the opposition will not have voice to prevail. For me, I know that all these manipulations from Mr. President will all fail. Nzekwe Celestine says David Umahi had just proven that politicians in Nigeria will always have their way. Come to think of it, for this woman to come back to recount all what she said against the minister before now, it tells you the kind of society we are in this part of the world. And it's also voiced down to the fact that everyone has a price. Okay, perhaps it boils down. Okay, noted. Chigozie Basha, Casey Basha, thank you for following. Gregory Thadeu says he posted yes from Asaba. It must be stated that it is unfortunate that the new electoral laws contain what will favor the interests of some greedy politicians while sidelining the interests of the masses. I advise ADC to make right decisions. If not, the president will have a smooth ride. Ethos the law Onwalu says, Tony, what exactly is the problem of unavailability of electricity all over Nigeria this period? Maybe we have to speak it in Igbo, because I think we have explained this repeatedly. And then Arinze Ijimbwe from Ibariam Fan Settlement, he says, our president is afraid of Mr. Peter Obi. That is the reason he is making an amending electoral act to outsmart Mr. Obi and the obedient movement. Anglika, thank you for flowing from Umoji. Tete Patrick says he posted from Motu, near South. Please, Speaker, help us to tell Mr. President to keep to his word. That is what makes you a real man. And I'm going to see how I can do this before we get to leave. I'm commenting from Umoji this very morning. The campaign from one party to another has become norm in this country, and I think it can never be stopped unless the Nigerian lawmakers put into law, of which I know they cannot do. That's a law that prohibits 7 lawmakers from leaving their party. But the issue is that it is not implemented. And Sunday Eagle says it's obvious the woman is so greedy to have betrayed Nigerians. She's a betrayer, and that's very unfortunate for you. That's why I see Nnamdi Kanu as honorable and authentic, a man that stands firmly and will never give up for anything. So Tony, lots of comments this very morning. I had a hard time reading them, but it felt so good that people were following that very Facebook page. So we have some questions.
All right, where do we start? Let's begin with EEDC. I can only say that EEDC currently is receiving about 233 megawatts of electricity from the national grid, and that is why it is aggressively rationing the 233 megawatts, making it that some places we have 3 hours of power per day for those outside band B, and then for those in band A, they load shed it in such a way that you have this night, you will not have the other night, or you have this night, you have in the day. They usually have about 450 megawatts. That's what they usually get from the national grid, but on average, sometimes they can also have about 500 megawatts. From 450, 500, but it has dropped to about 233, and that is why we are seeing that. And somebody asks, can the government build a refinery? But remember, the southeast, the way we would have power and we say, if we have about 1,000 megawatts given to EEDC to distribute, but they usually get 500 megawatts, but now it has dropped to about 233 megawatts. That's why they are load shedding. They don't have much. Someone asked, can the government build a refinery? The answer is yes. But building a refinery, remember, it is capital intensive. Dangote spent about $20 billion to have the 650,000 barrel per day production capacity. The one they built somewhere around Lagos, Lekki. Government can build refineries, but the cost implication, because a government can go and borrow money to build refineries. Some of them have been building airports. You can build airports with about 50 billion naira. You can have an average airport. But for you to build refinery, you must cough much more than that. You must cough more than, at least you must have put in place about 700 to 800 billion naira. And 700 to 800 billion naira, if you try to do it, means that you cannot do some project unless you go and borrow. And before you borrow, the National Assembly must approve it, the State Assembly must approve it. There are so many, I don't have time to explain these things. What is the next question? I'm just rushing them.
Strait of Hormuz. Is it in Iran?
Strait of Hormuz borders Iran. It has direct, but it is not in Iran. It has direct border with Iran. It also have a direct border with Oman. It also have about 150 to 200 kilometers with United Arab Emirates. About 300 kilometers with Qatar, about 400 kilometers, from Bahrain, about 500 to 660 kilometers from Saudi Arabia. The same with Qatar and Iraq. In fact, that of Iraq is about 900 kilometers away from Iraq. That of Kuwait is about 890 to about 900 kilometers from Kuwait. But the truth is, it is not of Iran, and it shares direct border. So it's 0 kilometers from Iran. And you also shares direct border with Oman. It's not in Iran. I think I answered that.
So we're going to leave it. Let me just give this small analogy about power, because I'm going to question it. I'm going to say this. Exactly, because when it comes to power, right? And when they talk about the Jenkos, transmission had transmitted to EDC to distribute to homes. Now, the way you are going to understand this megawatt thing that Tony explained, now how many they receive is 50, just like in your mother 1 gig of data, say I carry a mother 100. So you have to share in a way that you to everybody.
So in Korea na anenyebu fa okpokoro okubu 500 megawatts before now. Now but I go to 233 megawatts. And then you watch here the need of Southeast need about 1,000 megawatts. So I now manage here. Imo but I go give more than if I negotiate the urban areas. And that is why these things are happening. Open Nikawala, Ogeron to Kawali, and Nandine Mepotoko Afukunuji Ferika, the Hane Jege Gote Feji.
I get what to say about it. Okay, so thank you every one of you for joining today's program. Of course, your inputs are significant, and we thank you. Tomorrow we're going to be here again. My name is Franklin Ebuka. Good morning.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Onitsha, the business people.